started so I can get you out of here before midnight. Is that okay? All right. Does anybody here didn't bring an appetite? You didn't bring one? Oh, okay. Because if you didn't, we'll pass your food to somebody else. Anyways, we want to welcome you. It's going to be a fast-paced course. It's a little different. If you've been to cooking schools before, my name is Mike Mallinson, and my career was in food service, and I graduated from the Culinary Institute of America in '69 when I was 8 years old. So don't figure the math, but it was fun and stuff, and I ran nutrition and food service in hospitals for 23 years. And the reason we do this course is, one is to make people aware of what's really going on in the food industry, because there's a lot of deception, and you're going to see some of that tonight. So you're going to have an atmosphere, hopefully, like you are at home. We're going to pass out food, and while you're eating the food, we show short videos so that you get to watch TV and eat. Eat, watch videos, and every once in a while I shoot my mouth off. Is that okay? So, and they're short videos, most of them. I think there's one that's 5 minutes long. The rest of them are all 1 to 2.5 minutes. But our purpose is to make you aware. I'm going to tell you what we're not here to do so everybody can relax. One here, we're not here to judge anybody, and nor does anybody else need to. This course is designed for no matter what diet you're on, you will learn things and benefit things. Whether you want to continue eating meat, whether you want to be a vegetarian, whether you want to be a vegan, doesn't matter. You'll see as we go through this. I teach principles, I don't teach absolutes. If you learn the principles, you can take this anywhere you go, and I'll explain that later as I go. There's going to be a few things you're going to hear me say over and over and over again, because you got to get it in your head to make this work. But this menu that you have in front of you, everything there is 10 minutes or less to prepare. And we're going to show you how that happens. We did that because 25 years ago when I started this, even then, you know, in most households, the women and men are both working. We're into this instant gratification age. Everything has to be quick, 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 etc. The trouble is, women entered the workforce, and they're expected to still do 2 jobs. They come home, they got to cook, they got to do laundry, take care, you know, the usual things. So it's kind of like having 2 jobs. And so that makes people likely to pick up a bucket of chicken on the way home, or a pizza, or Mickey D's, because they're tired and burnt out just like other people are. So 10 minutes or less is what we decided to do, and it's kids approved. My kids were the guinea pigs, so almost everything on that menu they like. So hopefully you'll like it too. You're going to taste about 16 items tonight. I don't demo a lot. This program used to be 9 hours long. I got it down to 2 hours. But to do that, I don't do demos a lot. I don't need to impress you on how fast I can chop food. That's no big deal. And you don't have to watch me putting seasoning in a bowl when you can shake it yourself. So I figure you're intelligent enough to do all that. You can read, right? In this packet, we'll go through fairly quick. Again, you'll hear me say things over and over, like prep. Prep is the key to making this thing work. So in this packet, you're going to see there's prep charts in there. There's a couple different spice charts. If you learn seasoning, you can make anything taste good. And I'm going to show you some of that tonight, how it works. I would like to ask, how many people here are here because somebody invited somebody? I'm trying to figure out how to advertise these classes more. Okay? How many seen a poster somewhere? Okay. What other ways were there? Email, okay. Good. I mean, some. Okay, tip meeting. All right, good. We'll have upcoming events and stuff too, so we'll announce that when it happens. But we have a lot of programs. We have a whole course on diet and disease. So again, you're going to see some things tonight. It's hard to shock people this day and age, but hopefully a few of these things will appall you. And I don't mean gross as far as animal cruelty and stuff. I don't show those videos. You can watch them on your own, but it is terrible what they do out there. But you're going to see stuff like how they sneak metal shavings into your cereal, and how you're buying things you think are healthy. You go, for example, to a grocery store. Next time you go there, you look like at Pam Spray, you know. You look at the label, it says 100% fat-free. You turn it around, one ingredient, 100% olive oil. So the next question is, how can it be 100% fat, but call it fat-free? So then you look, because the FDA, anyways, we go through this, you're going to see deceptions. And then it goes into serving size. So you'll see that it's a quarter of a second spray or a third, depending on which one you're looking at. But people see that label, it says no calories, fat-free. They're trying to get healthier. They figure out that's better than putting a whole bunch of butter, so what do? You know what a quarter-second spray would, that's what a quarter, you couldn't even get it out. So that's some of the deception that's going on out there. Your index cards that are in there for a couple purposes. One, if you have any questions, just write them down, because I don't go through that. In order to get through this in a couple hours, I need to sail on through it and let you people taste a lot of food and explain what you just ate. Hopefully you won't be too upset with that, but it's all good stuff. But you can ask questions. The other thing is, we have a health and recipe club, and so if you want to be on the recipe club and continue getting recipes on different things, or if you have a recipe and you send it to me, then I send it out to the group. And we did some health things out in New York, so we're networked with some people out there. So we got recipe clubs kind of going all over. That way you can have new things to try out if you want to. They're not all 10 minutes or less. But we have good things like, again, ranch dressings that are good, that are totally vegan. We have Thousand Island dressings, Catalinas, so there's all types of stuff you can have. And tonight you're going to taste stuff. Everything you taste tonight is vegan. Tell you that up front. We're going to explain some of what we call better than foods, etc. So let me see if they're all ready here, if everything is out there. Are you guys ready to pass? All right. I'm going to make an... Oh. Who didn't get a ticket? I have eight gifts tonight that we want to pass out to people, so make sure you have a ticket. One back, okay. Yes, I'll announce that later on. Thank you. All right, with that said and done, they're going to be passing out the soups. We're going to start some of these little short videos. On that card again, if you want to be in the recipe club, just put a big R on there, and please print your email so it's legible. I say that every time, but about half of them I can't read, and so I miss people, literally. I can't tell if it's a 6 or a 5 or this or that. So the recipe club's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot of things, and we send out little short videos every once in a while. Let me ask a real stupid question, and I hope somebody doesn't raise their hand. How many people here enjoy being sick? All right, good. Then you're in the right place. I have a couple quotes. Hippocrates was quite a doctor over 2,000 years ago. We have science today to prove a lot of the things that he was telling people there. You want to hit that light for me, Jacob? Appreciate it. So total health consists of 3 areas: physical, mental, and spiritual health, right? Tonight we're doing on physical health. Hippocrates, before you heal someone, ask him if he's willing to give up the things that make him sick. So, if you're sick or you have problems or you're type 2 diabetic, etc., do you enjoy being sick? So you'll get a lot of information tonight that can show you how to improve health, no matter how old, how young you are, what weight or anything. All disease begins in the gut. He said that over 2,000 years ago, and the science shows that. There's a book out called Death Begins in the Colon, and absolutely does. If we could give every individual the right amount of nourishment and exercise, not too little, not too much, we'd found the safest way to health. Extreme remedies are very appropriate for extreme diseases. My wife is 19 years breast cancer free this summer. She had 4 tumors. We were blessed. I have a program we went through, and in less than a little under a month, all tumors were gone. We've had 5 friends over the last 25 years with tumors in liver. There's nothing 100%, but there's definitely things out there. You're going to see the power of what you put in your mouth does. Natural forces within us are the true healers of disease. Our bodies, if we give them the right things, will do wonderful things. Let food be your medicine, medicine be your food. This is a very true statement. It's very simple. Every bite we take is doing one of two things. It's either fighting a disease or it's feeding a disease. So let me ask you this. If you found out and were convinced through science, the whole 9 yards there, if there's foods you're eating that are known carcinogenics, they know that it causes cancer, it promotes cancer cells, would you want to still eat it? I hope not, but that's all we're going to do is make you aware, and some of it will surprise you because for years, especially us in my age bracket, we were taught certain things were perfect foods, good foods, and we're going to find out they're not. We'll tell you what the spreads are made of later. I don't want to prejudice you and ruin your appetites, all right? But let me tell you, you're getting good fiber tonight, all right? And without going through all the science and stuff, just as a measurement, if you eat, we want that off so you can see the videos. That they can see, Oak, thank you. That second, the second one to the end, that one. Yeah, the other one can be, there you go. But anyways, so you're going to learn some of that tonight. This is a nice little 2-minute video, fast food genocide. All right.
The human brain, the most complex structure known to humanity, is under attack. Today, the majority of Americans get more than half of their calories from highly processed, human-engineered fast food. While many of us know how this can affect our physical health, fewer know how much it can also damage our mental health. While it makes up just a small percentage of your overall weight, your brain is using up to 25% of your body's energy at any given time. That means when it comes to the fuel you're using to create that energy, quality matters. Fast-burning carbohydrates laden with sodium, saturated fats, and a cocktail of preservatives may give the brain an immediate energy boost, but ultimately will bog it down with inflammatory substances and toxins. One recent study found that people who eat fast foods and highly processed foods like cereal, chips, energy bars, and soft drinks are 51% more likely to develop depression when compared to those who eat little or no fast food. And that finding was seen from just 2 servings a week. And it doesn't just affect adults. Children who consume a nutritionally superior diet perform better academically compared with those who are nutrient deficient. Well-fed children are also less hyperactive, less moody, and better behaved. Would you feed your children fast food if you knew it could damage their brain and decrease their intelligence? Fast foods are the primary source of calories in the standard American diet, which means that all across the country, people are suffering from the negative impacts these foods bring with them. Brain fog, depression, mood swings, anxiety, violence, and aggression. Obesity, diabetes, and cancer have exploded with the rise of the processed food industry. Poor nutrition leaves a wide path of human suffering, but the solution is hiding in plain sight. A diet rich in slow foods like fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds is the secret to improving our nation's health and helping people everywhere reach their full physical and mental potential. Just imagine if we could solve our healthcare crisis, prevent millions from suffering needlessly, reduce mental illness, increase intelligence, and reduce crime by simply changing how people eat. Your health and happiness are dependent on what you put in your mouth. We need a revolution in information about our food, nutrition, and health. And it starts with you. Eating right will protect you and also help your neighbors, our country, and the planet.
What we're going to discuss tonight is ideal diets, lousy diet. Most people know lousy diets, and what I call better than diets. Again, this course is designed, there's 16 things on that menu that if your diet is a whole food plant-based diet, so there's still 16 things there for you. The good news is I just finished Friday. For those who are interested, maybe people go through the tip class or whatever, but I also just made a 30-day menu, 10 minutes or less, that's whole food plant-based. with the shopping list and et cetera to go with it. So again, we just want to make you aware of things. No one's here to judge. No one's saying this or that. But the bottom line is this. Every individual in here has to take charge of their own health. Nobody can do that for you. We shouldn't be depending on doctors to fix everything. You know, it's been proven scientifically, not just people's opinion, that over 85% of the main diseases in this country, diabetes, cancer, obesity, heart disease, are caused 100% by diet, by what people are putting in their mouth. And when you see some of the videos tonight, you'll understand why that happens and how it works. But before I go farther, Lucy, you want to come up and plug UC Veg just a minute? We do work with UC Veg a little bit and the Blue Zone Effect here in town. Here. Lucy?
Very much, we're very much along the same lines, and one of the ladies mentioned the TIP class. It stands for Total Health Improvement Program. It's a free 14-week class. The hospital is partnering with us, and they're doing blood work before and after people try the vegan diet. If you'd like to see amazing things happen, people dropping all kinds of cholesterol points and A1C and that sort of thing. So it's in the afternoon, either on a Wednesday or Thursday. They're right in the middle of one of the programs now, so if you're interested, another one will be starting. You can call. There's a number. These are the cards. You can get the phone number from that. They also have, we have dine-ups at local restaurants that have vegan options where people get together and share similar kinds of foods. We have cooking classes also, and we have shopping tours. If you'd like to go to Sherm's and you're wondering what's in the unusual bulk sections, things you've never tried before, we have cooking classes and just all kinds of information. So I'm going to put these, would you like them
up here?
Up here, and if you'd like more information, come grab one.
All right, thank you. Again, this is information. You'll eat a lot of food. Prep is the key. In a little while, we'll go through that menu pack and show you how that works. Let's go on to this next one here. Beef versus black beans. Now, if someone finds out you're a vegetarian, I know you're all going to say the same thing. The first thing they'll ask you is, where do you get your, I don't know where that come from. So I look at them and I say, well, where do you get your magnesium and your selenium? And that usually opens a good discussion. But it's a myth. So this little 1-minute video, it's kind of a fun one. Just watch the numbers. That debunks the myth. You know, actually, less than 3% of people in America are protein deficient, no matter what diet they're on. These are just myths that have been out there. And I was brought up in the 50s as a kid. I can remember those who were in that age bracket, they used all these advertisements, milk, perfect food, 3 glasses of milk a day, et cetera, et cetera. Today, from the dairy industry, this isn't from anti-dairy in this country. This is serious stuff. You can look up at Horde Dairymen, and I think it's in the pack to look up. Several years ago when they came out, in this country, 89% of our dairy herds are infected with bovine leukemia. 95% of our dairy herds have at least one cow with bovine leukemia. The #1 killer of little children in this country is leukemia. You can do the math yourself. put it together. That comes from the dairy industry themselves. It's a big problem. Here's another little deception. This is kind of fun. Tried this with one thing. It works. Again, you think you're eating good, healthy stuff.
So I was talking with a friend of mine recently, and she was telling me that common cereals have metal added to them. I mean, I thought this was absolute rubbish, but anyway, I went down to the supermarket, bought a bunch of common cereals off the shelf that were high in iron, and decided I would conduct a couple of experiments to see if this was indeed correct. The first things I wanted to do was to just put some of the cereal on top of a kind of bowl of water and see if I could magnetize it. So let's start with the total. So I'm going to put this in the water, and then I've got my magnet, and let's see if this actually does anything. I'm not touching it. I feel like I'm using the force.
It gets
Crazy.
better.
And if I go above it, wow, it's actually stuck to the magnet. And now I'm going to put another one, and let me do laps around it. Like a little speedboat. They're dancing with each other. Is that kind of cool with the two of them? What I want to do here is to separate the iron filings, just to see if I can pull them out. So I'm going to do that by pureeing the cereal. So put that in. Man, that smells awful. Put the magnet in a bag. I'm just running the magnet around the inside of all of this, seeing if it actually picks up any of the filings. And look at that. See the black part around the magnet? That there is all the filings. So what I'm going to do now is clean this off. In theory, the iron filings should just drop off. It's kind of crazy. I can actually clean my fingers and the magnet.
Our liver doesn't process metal shavings. That's not what we're designed. When we look at our bodies, and they are, as they say, wonderfully made, we're so fragile on one side and we're so tough on the other side. You know, a little clot the size of the head of a needle goes through the lung, kill you instantly. Then we get into other things and we fight our car wrecks and break 20 bones and we fight it. The bottom line is, it's not healthy, but people are buying that stuff thinking it's healthy. Just like when they buy those sprays and it says 100% fat-free, because there's a lot of people trying to cut down, but there's a lot of deception. I don't show the video because it's too long. I think I put it on the sheet. There's a whole list of short videos to watch. The 12-minute one, it's called The Science of Addictive Foods. And I'll tell you what you'll see in there. You'll see a chef get into this machine where they can monitor the brain live. Every 30 seconds, they put a drop of fat on the tongue and they can watch where the brain gets excited and craves more. The addiction is fat, salt, and sugar. And if you look at just about everything you eat, potato chips, all these kind of things, you're going to see fat, salt, and sugar in all these things. It's crazy how it goes. But they know, and then they discovered that even the crunch, there's a certain amount of crunch. So when they have potato chips, because you hear when you eat, I mean, it sounds crazy, but these people go through lengths to sell their products and get you to buy it and make it addictive. How many people really, without trying to think and saying, I'm going to do this, when they used to advertise, you can't eat one with potato chips, you can't eat one. You know, it's just, once you get it. Anyways, that's one to watch. Now, this one here is just how cancer starts. It's a short little one. We hear a lot about cancer. When I was a kid, never heard about cancer at all. Maybe a movie star got something, they called it cancer. Today, I'll bet if I ask, you don't have to, a rhetorical question, but I'll bet everybody in this room either has had cancer or knows someone that has cancer. And yet you go back 40 years ago, that didn't hit. Nobody would know anybody. And there's reasons for that. So let's watch this little one here.
What is cancer and how does it start? Hi, I'm Dr. Anthony Komaroff. Every one of us is made up of cells, trillions of them. Cancer begins when one cell starts to grow uncontrollably. Cells grow by dividing. One cell divides into two cells become 4 cells, and so on. Healthy cells divide only when they need to. Cells must divide for a baby to grow in the mother's womb, and then after birth to grow into an adult. Even after we become an adult, cells must divide to replace old or damaged cells. Normal cells divide in a controlled way, just when they need to. Cancerous cells, on the other hand, divide uncontrollably. Here, a cancerous cell, colored green, starts to divide, and it keeps dividing. The rapidly dividing cells push aside the healthy cells around them. They form a small cancer that at first is too small to see and then begins to grow beyond the organ where it started. What makes a cell turn cancerous and divide uncontrollably? Cells divide when their genes tell them to. But if a gene has a mutation, it can tell a cell to divide when there's no reason for it to divide. Most cancers start because of mutations in several different genes. When a cancer starts, the body's immune system will often recognize the cancer cells as abnormal and attack them. This may kill some cancer cells, but it can't get rid of all of them. To have the energy to keep growing, the cancer needs a blood supply. To get that supply, the cancer sends out chemical signals that draw blood vessels to it. Unfortunately, these vessels allow cancer cells to spread to other parts of the body. Some early cancers stop growing and never spread. These are called benign tumors. However, many cancers invade tissue around them and spread to other parts of the body. These are malignant cancers. To learn more, see the video called How Cancer Spreads. From Harvard, I wish you good health.
I'll show you a quick little demo. And I know there's a woman here who will testify because she has tried it. She's sitting right over there. On the menu and stuff, you'll see sloppy joes, chili. And what if you could make chili in 5-7 minutes? If you could make sloppy joes? What if you could have pasta and go down the list? Again, the principle is this. Whether you're a person who makes all your own stuff from scratch at home, like we can our own tomatoes and make tomato paste. That's our lifestyle. That's what we choose. Or whether you buy it, it doesn't matter. The principle is the same. You have certain ingredients. So it's just like when you eat the pizza buns tonight. Maybe you make your own bread you want. The point is, the principle is it has to have a base, it has to have a sauce, and it has to have a topping. So you can choose wherever your lifestyle is at. We're going to try to suggest and show you reasons why you might want to change some of this stuff. And to speed things up, I opened a can of tomato sauce ahead of time so you don't have to watch me do that and dump spices in, right? The recipes are there. So I'm using these Bokeberg crumbles. These are a vegan crumble. They imitate what hamburger will do. You can make these things taste like anything you want them to if you understand seasoning. That's why when we go through the chart, you're going to see 2 spice charts. I'll go through that in a little while. So all you do is have your sauce, and whether you're buying Sloppy Joe packets or whether you're doing it from scratch, mock nix, all we have to do is open the crumbles up. The prep that we already had is in there. All I have to do is mix these things through. If you don't like using a microwave, you can do this on the stove. If you don't mind, because there's a lot of microwaves, people will say, when they first came out, they were a pretty bad thing, but your cell phone gives you a lot more radiation than the microwaves do. They're pretty safe. And I'll give this to them so they can start heating this up. Thank you. Well, that was real difficult. Now, isn't that true, Margie? Did you give it? Did you do that? And did your son like it? Rest my case. If you don't tell them stuff, they don't know. You know, if you didn't know all this stuff was vegan tonight, some of it you would be questioning me and saying, are you sure? Well, let me put these in this one. I want to do this for some. Sure. Thank you. All right, they're going to be passing out, if you haven't gotten it already, pizza buns and burritos. So hopefully you'll enjoy those. Again, it doesn't look like much, but by the time the evening's through, you're going to have so much little samples that will come out of your ears. And then we have some rice pudding for dessert. Hopefully you like rice pudding. So while they're passing that out, obesity in the United States right now, 1/3 of our people in this country, 1/3 are obese. That's not counting overweight. We're talking about obese, and that's children. You know, with all the research and stuff that goes on out there, it gets confusing anymore because everybody's merging. But the one thing that nobody can hide, if you're really interested in finding out what's true, because it takes a little time and research, the one thing that cannot be hidden is sociological effects on us. If you go back like I did, when you study and you look at children 12 years old in 1960, today the average 12-year-old is 25 pounds heavier and 2 inches taller. So you have to ask, why is that? And if we go through it and we see in the late 60s when they came out and started advertising that red meat has these 8 essential amino acids, and Mr. Steak opens up and McDonald's expands, and then a couple of years later they come out and said there's this thing called cholesterol and it's pretty bad news, so you should go to white meat. Now we see Church's Fried Chicken, Kentucky. Anyways, we go through it, and then it went to fish. Now we have them all. But when we look out there and we start studying that stuff and we see the lifespans, the amount of diseases, you know how many young people are dying this day and age of cancer? It's just a sad figure. That was almost unheard of. So let's watch a little one here.
It's time to whip your mind into shape on the subject of obesity. A European study shows 97% of people don't believe being overweight increases the risk of cancer. But health experts say it's one of the biggest risks for cancer and other chronic health conditions, like diabetes and heart disease. And it's estimated the annual healthcare cost of obesity is $147 billion. Now, there are 3 things you can do to get fit. First, health experts say start with exercising at least 30 minutes a day. Then you can gradually increase your time depending on how much weight you want to lose. Now, along with exercise, adopt a healthy diet rich in fruits and vegetables. Keep your portion sizes small, drink plenty of water, and try to steer clear of sweets.
Let's skip that demo. You passing out the pizza buns and stuff yet? All right. Cancer is so rapidly growing in this country in all different shapes and forms. But it really is true. If you learn some of the deceptions, and even if you change some of your diet, everything you do will improve it. You know, statistically, if you're a type 2 diabetic and you go to a whole food plant-based diet and do exercise, the vast majority of them within 60 to 90 days are no longer diabetic. They're no longer on their insulin if they're taking insulin. That's the power of food. Here's basic health, and if there's a doctor in here, they can raise their hand because no one can deny what it has to have good health in its simplest form. We have 5 eliminating organs and they have to be working. So that's easy to find out. We have to have blood going through our body with nutrition in it, right? Every function in our body is done in a fluid state. Cells form tissues, tissues form organs. That's basic health 101. Where the problem comes in the arguments, you talk to some doctors, they'll tell you this is what you should eat in nutrition. You talk to a dietitian, they tell you this. You talk to a nutritionist, they tell you this. You talk to this. And so people get confused, they don't know what to believe. You go on the internet, you can find anything you want on the internet, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. So But the science all comes down, whole food, plant-based diet, no one denies, is the ideal diet. And I'm not saying that it's easy. We do this thing to help people transition if that's their desire. We know it has to become a lifestyle. With that said and done, let's look at this little video here by Dr. Greger.
Just like with diabetes, the same diet that prevents heart disease can be used not just to treat it, but to reverse it. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of Dean Ornish's landmark research showing that without drugs, a near-vegan diet could reverse atherosclerosis, dissolve the plaque, open up the arteries. Well, if that's the case, can't we just eat whatever we want and then just start eating vegan after our first heart attack to dissolve the plaque away? Unfortunately, there's a little something called sudden cardiac death. Half of those that die of heart disease just drop dead. So our first heart attack may indeed be our last, but not in the way we were hoping. So what's Ornish up to these days? Well, he's still reversing heart disease, nearly 3/4 of patients angina-free without drugs or surgery. But now that he's conquered the number one killer, he's moved on to trying to reverse killer number 2, cancer. PSA levels are typically what's used to follow the progression of prostate cancer. In the standard diet group, they got worse. In the vegan diet group, they got better. No surgery, no chemotherapy, no radiation. They just started getting better. Here's an MR spectrograph showing the drop in cancer activity on the plant-based diet. To figure out what was going on, they took blood from each group and dripped their blood on prostate cancer cells in a petri dish to see what effect the dietary change had. The blood of the standard diet patients did reduce the cancer cell growth rates by about 10%. Their bodies, their immune systems were doing the best that they could to beat back the cancer. The blood of people on a vegan diet, though, knocked the cancer growth down 70%. Eating a plant-based diet made their bloodstream 8 times less hospitable to cancer. Now, this is after a year. Subsequent studies have shown that one can see a significant cancer-fighting effect after just 2 weeks on a plant-based diet with exercise. What's happening, it seems, is that the vegan diet reprogrammed gene expression within the prostate gland itself. Ornish took biopsies before and after the dietary change, and you can see the subtle shift in gene regulation from more red to more green. The green denotes genes that are being down-regulated under the lifestyle changes. Before and after. Ornish's 2-year follow-up was just published last year. A significant number of the standard diet group were forced to go into surgery for what's called a radical prostatectomy, which often leads to urinary incontinence and impotence in 60% of men coming out of surgery. But not a single one of the men on the plant-based diet had to go to surgery.
Cancer reversal through diet. I believe these ones on here, I put a list, there's like 60 or 70 little videos you can watch at your own leisure on YouTube. Again, the purpose of this is just to make you aware and educate. Anything you do that improves your health, you're ahead. Even if people quit eating meat just for 1 day a week, or if you increase your exercise, or you drink more water, you'll just find amazing things start to happen. I mean, I should have been dead. I'm just alive because of the Lord. I used to have photo shops. I ran 2 careers at the same time because I'm one of these weirdos that's up 20 hours a day. And so a job is like part-time, so what do you do with the rest of your time? So I figured, well, you have another career. That's what I did. But when I was running those shops in New York, I had good accounts like General Motors and New York State Electric and Gas, and I was up to 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. I should have been dead from drinking 30 cups of coffee, eating Snickers bars and RC Colas, living the American dream, 200 pounds, etc. And I didn't know about health then. And then I learned, and I started making some decisions. And I'm glad I did, because I've been on both sides. So I know it can be a challenge. But you know, there's so much food, and that's why we want you to taste these things tonight. And hopefully you like most of them. You don't have to like everything. You know, when I ate meat, I don't care how you fix liver. I never ate liver. Liver, it's just yuck. You can smother it, ketchup it. You can do anything you want. Saute it, broil it. You ain't going to get me to eat liver. Prime rib, that was a different story, you know. So I've been there, done that. Let's see where are we at here. Caffeine. Yeah, I heard that. Ooh. Again, when you learn what it's doing to your body, you better plug your ears on the next 2 videos then. All right? This is what it really does to us. Again, we have to debunk myths. The science is there. If the science proves it, if the science knows that it's carcinogenic, if it knows that it takes calcium out of your bones, and we can go down this whole list of things, then we have a decision. Like Hippocrates said at the beginning, if you know something is bad for your health and you want good health, are you willing to give it up? But that's personal. And that's why it's tough. Health is a tough subject. It's personal, there's emotional attachments to it, and there's physical addictions to a lot of the food today. So let's watch this short one here.
Did you know that caffeine doesn't actually give you energy at all? It actually tricks your brain into thinking you're not tired. It does that by impersonating a compound that signals your brain to sleep. That compound is called adenosine. It builds up in the brain the longer you're awake. Adenosine bonds with its receptor on brain cells, slowing them down and making you feel tired. Caffeine and adenosine have very similar structures, which makes caffeine the perfect imposter. Here's how it works. When you drink a cup of coffee or a can of soda, the caffeine gets into your bloodstream and makes its way to your brain. That's where it meets the adenosine receptor. Since caffeine and adenosine look so similar, the receptor cells happily bind the caffeine instead of the adenosine. Basically, the caffeine is stopping adenosine from slowing things down by taking its place. So your brain cells stop getting the slow down signals from adenosine. That boosts blood pressure and heart rate and keeps you alert. Of course, what comes up must go down. The receptors eventually let go of that caffeine, and that lets the adenosine back in. After about 6 hours, you're only going to feel half of caffeine's effects, and you're going to start to drag. So the next morning when you wake up, you're probably already feeling the early symptoms of withdrawal. That's why, in a desperate attempt to get things back on track, you reach for that cup of coffee.
How true. Now this one, I like Roger. This guy's humorous, satire, but the message is really strong. So you'll enjoy it. And if you like him, there's a whole bunch of these YouTubes, if toothpaste commercials were honest, if milk companies were honest. Let's see what Roger has to say. And I'm sure some of us will identify with this.
Beautiful day. I'd call it perfect, but it's missing something, don't you think? Ah, there it is. This morning just wasn't complete until your first cup of coffee, right? Yeah, there's nothing quite like a steaming cup full of an addictive drug in the morning. I'm Roger.
and I'd love to tell you about Horton brand warm addictive brown stuff. Please enjoy this footage of velvety smooth beans, followed by a well-shot close-up of a hot brown liquid that's brewed by mixing heated water with the roasted, smashed up seeds of a flowering shrub native to southern Africa and tropical Asia. I only showed you that to remind you, you desperately need your fix. How could you forget? You see, these small brown seeds are a naturally occurring source of the world's most widely consumed central nervous system stimulant, caffeine. While most brain-altering substances are outlawed or at least tightly controlled by the government, this entirely legal psychoactive drug is enjoyed by basically every person you know on a daily basis, completely unrestricted and with zero cultural stigma. In fact, it's openly celebrated by your friends, family, and morning television personalities. Smells so good. I can't wait to add flavors and sweetener to distract from the natural flavor of this thing I claim to love and not be addicted to.
I do like it. It's just that 2 sugars and that hazelnut creamer make it. I'm not addicted.
Junkies like him keep me, a harvester of brown seeds, in business. But not just me. Also me, a distributor of overpriced addictive sludge. It also comes in pumpkin flavored, if you'd prefer that to the wet cigar boiled asphalt flavor that occurs naturally.
I do.
Great. That'll be $11. And here's a cup with your name just butchered on it to prove that you will let literally anyone treat you literally however they want, as long as they're handing you a cup of the chemical reward of an unregulated psychoactive drug. Enjoy your drug disguised as a universally celebrated touchstone of human culture, Randor. Randor? That's not even a name. I didn't even try. Now, I understand that you wouldn't want to associate that chemical reward with the knowledge that people with far less money than you are severely underpaid to grow and harvest these bitter, drug-laden seeds. So I'd like to show you some more footage, this time of a hard-working, happy-looking person in Ethiopia or Guatemala, somewhere hot, it doesn't really matter. I'm also going to say some words that, combined with these images, should make you feel better. Organic, cooperative, sustainable, ethical, ethics. I could bore you with the details and complexities of the international commodities market, or I could just say, hey, look, this burlap bag of beans has fair trade stamped on it.
That's good. Right?
Sure. Or at any rate, it lets you plausibly deny that your happiness fix relies on somebody else's misery. Now the only thing that'll keep you up at night is the central nervous system stimulant you consume on a daily basis via this mix of heated water and roasted, smashed up seeds.
Why are you doing this? Why are you telling us this?
You're really cranky when you haven't had your coffee. You know that? There you go. A nice warm cup of your personality. Drink it up. I'm Roger, by the way.
A lot of truth, but there's a book out. Can I bring it here? Yep. It's really thick. It's the Caffeine Blues. It'll have so much information, but you go on the internet and if you're looking for the truth. And the studies show, women are more prone to osteoporosis than men. So women from the age of 50 to 60, if they have what they call one brown drink a day, that can be a soda, caffeine, even decaf because it has caffeola oil in it, chocolate, that's popular to tell people. But you lose 1.4% of your calcium, so by the time from 50 to 60, you lose 14% of the calcium. Carbonated drinks take calcium out of your bones. So if you know these things, the trouble is they are addictive. So while they're passing the chili dogs and stuff out, I'm going to start going through your packet just a little bit. Let me grab, I got the whole food plant-based one. Now the learning curve before we see more videos. Let's start with the top page. You look at all these items on here. Everything on there is going to be 10 minutes or less to prepare. The key to making it happen is, 1, to understand the principle of how it works. 2 is prep. You're going to hear prep, prep, prep. Like you're all eating a whole bunch of food here tonight. You think that was done in an hour? God bless you. Anita, you're hired. But we prep, like that Sloppy Joe little demo there. And, these little food processors, they look cheap and stuff. I'll tell you, these are little gold mines. They're not expensive to buy. They can chop up things so fast, you don't have to chop it by hand. But if you go down the menu here and take the second sheet where it says prep, 30-day prep sheet. Now you look at day 1. The concept is I come home. I prepped for that day's menu. So if day 1 said you're going to have a stir fry with pineapple and bread, that means on the last day of the month there, you prep the veggies. So when you come home from work, they're already in there. And you prep while things are heating up, so you don't have to sit there and watch things cook. Okay, so if we go to day 2, it says clean the peppers out and have ready to fill while chopping veggies for the peppers. Chop extra for 4-day pizza buns if you want to. Again, if you use a little food processor, when I do this coleslaw a little later, all that big bowl of cabbage took about a minute to chop up, minute and a half. I mean, it doesn't have to be hard. If you want to chop it by hand, it takes you a lot longer. But prep, 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 so that when you come home, whatever you want, you come home and it's time to have those pizza buns that you had. The veggies, the toppings were already prepped from the day before. All you have to do, what we did there, because we did 60 of them, is you put them under the broiler on a sheet pan and brown the tops off. We don't do nothing to the bottom. If you're at home or a bachelor or whatever, you can put them in the toaster if you want, just to get them a little brown crispy. The sauce on there, I have to make a correction because they're no longer carrying it at Dollar Tree. I was buying Ronaldo because to find stuff without corn syrup in it is very hard. And you don't want corn syrup. We'll talk about that in a little while. But Sherms. I almost call it Stearns. We came from Vermont, so there was a place called Stearns out there. When I first did these sheets, I kept putting Stearns down. And people said, where's Stearns? I said, well, it's in Vermont. But they have a nice one, the one that you had tonight. It's a nice big jar for $1.14. And all these pizzas that were made here didn't use one jar. That's how far that stuff can go, so it's very inexpensive. Those were done on sandwich thins. Again, you can use whatever base you want. We do it because we don't charge, and we do everything we can as cheap as we can and try to be as healthy as we can. We go strictly on donations. I will never charge for people to get healthy. It's not right in my book. But coming back to here, so when you come home, your veggies, your toppings are already ready. So how long does it take you to put a sauce on a bun and stick it under a broiler and melt the cheese down? Now, you don't have to like them, but those who ate the pizza bun, were they okay? Okay. Now, you can put any toppings you want. Ives makes a pepperoni that's made from soy that tastes good. Again, these are transition. When I keep saying that with these better than foods, the Boca, they're not whole food plant-based in the traditional sense, but they're 100% vegan. They're not highly processed. There's no red 40s and all these crazy dyes and stuff. So they're not a bad food. So if you're craving a hamburger or something, you can buy one of those burger type things and it'll fill you. The cheese you had tonight was the Daya cheese, but there's other ones out there. They make mozzarella, cheddar. When I became vegan 32 years ago, they didn't have that stuff, so it was even, they're trying to convince you all these, I call them chalk burgers, these things made out of tofu and cashew and everything was cashews, you know, they were expensive, high in fat, and I'm going, man, I'm just going from one poison to another. And so now you have a lot of transition foods if you want to do that, if that's your desire. And that's the main purpose of this class, is to show you that you can do that. But prep is the key. When you come home, you don't have to watch stuff cook. When stuff is warming up, you're prepping for the next day. It's that simple. You combine it. Use a crock pot. Takes you a couple minutes to throw everything, all those soups in a crock pot, turn it on. When you come home, your meal's ready for you. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to watch it. So that's why it's 10 minutes or less, because you're going to be working, and when you come home, it's done. But it took you only a couple minutes to throw the ingredients in there. And if you go through it, you'll see the same thing. You're always prepping the day before. When I ran food service, I used to be the executive chef at the largest dinner theater in the United States. We did 500 people to a show. It was a buffet, all you could eat. It was a new menu for every show. The show lasted an average of 8 weeks. So that's a lot of work to change menus and do all this stuff that you do. Yet the key was prep. It wasn't as hard as the hardest part was changing menus over, getting inventory. The cooking part was easy. When you understand prep and everything is ready for you, it's fast. It's just like making a garden salad. If you had to come home every night to eat a garden salad, and every time you're going to do it, you got to get your peppers out, you got to get this out, you got to chop it. It takes time, you're tired. But if you go home and you got a tub full of them, and all you have to do is take a handful of it, throw it on your salad, and you're good to go. So when you prep, you spend an extra couple minutes, chop up. It'll last. These potatoes that you see here, again, this is not in your packet. What you're going to do to make this menu work is your 3 main staples. That's your rice, your potatoes, and pasta. Now these potatoes, if you take potatoes this size, medium, somewhere in that range, you put them in a pan, cover them with cold water, put it on your stove. The minute you turn your stove on, 50 minutes, 50. At 50 minutes, pour the water off, let them cool down. It's the only thing you're going to store in your refrigerator uncovered. Otherwise, they get slimy and stuff. Now, they'll last you 7 to 10 days. You'll still retain 80% of the nutritional value. So now let me ask you this. If you came home and your potatoes were already cooked, what dishes could you make? What potato dishes do you like? Name some potato dishes you like. Potato soup. Salad. Fries, steak fries. Hash browns, scalloped potatoes. Baked potato. If your potato is all cooked and ready to go, everything that you all named just now can be done in under 10 minutes. Get on the recipe club. I'll send you a white sauce thing that's simple. My kids love it. I give them what they think was chipped beef on toast for breakfast. They love it. Very simple. This is your roast beef that you ate tonight, and later on you'll be eating a chicken, a mock chicken. How many like that little cracker with the meat on it? Is that pretty good? Could you live with something like that for sandwiches? Yeah, what you ate was red beans and gluten and some seasoning. That's it. So this is high fiber. It's nothing but a bunch of red beans. When you like the chicken, I'll tell you what that is later. Because I want you to still like it. The spread? Yeah, that's all in your recipes here. All the recipes are in the packet. Those were additions we put on our last thing. But coming back to the prep chart, I want to just go down it again. Day 6, it says you were slicing potatoes for oven fries. So when you come home and your potatoes, they're cooked, they're sliced, and you put them on a sheet pan, what we do is everything is under a broiler. Those pizzas were done under a broiler. They're not baked. When those toppings were put on there, because we cut it small, you pretty much ate 90% raw vegetables on that pizza tonight because it was cut small. But it tastes good, don't it? It's easy to eat, even if you have dentures and plates. And so you put that topping on, and if you're going to use the cheese, put it on. Put it under the broiler for about 2 minutes till the cheese melts, and your pizza's ready to go. You can put 10 of them on a sheet pan, so you can have 10 pizzas in 2 minutes. So So even putting the toppings, coming home and doing that, 5 minutes or less, you got a nice meal. Again, the principle is use your base. If you like to use French bread or you make your own bread, it doesn't matter. Just use a base. It all comes out the same way. It's a base with sauce on it, toppings, broiled, done deal. So no matter what your lifestyle is, if you're the Mother Earth type that likes to do everything from scratch, you'll already have that stuff in store. If you came to our house, I mean, this year, not as many, we got 111 tomato plants, right? Because that's our lifestyle. So I make like 7 gallons of salsa, and then my wife cans it, and then we have the stuff all year round. The soup you ate tonight, had tomatoes from the garden. So it's very simple, but it is a lifestyle change. But the key is prep. If you don't do the prep, and every time you come home, you have to do that meal that night. And you don't need to do that. And when it comes to veggies, you can chop them for a few days, put them in an airtight container. If you pre-cook beans you're going to have to rinse off every 2 to 3 days and drain them off so they don't go bad. But you can have all that stuff prepared. So now we come back again. We have steak fries. They're already ready. All you have to do is sprinkle what you want on it, whether it's garlic, seasoning, paprika, whatever you like on those. Stick it under the broiler until you brown them because they're already cooked. The cooking is what takes time. If you had to come home every night and make a baked potato, who wants to wait 45 minutes and heat the house up, etc.? So 50 minutes, drain them, they'll last you. Now, if you miscalculated for how many you would do at the end of the week, and say you had 4 left for whatever reason, how many people have ever had frozen dinners? You can chop these up, and you can make O'Brien potatoes, which is nothing but your red and green peppers and onions, or you can just make hash browns. You can do whatever you want and stick them in the freezer. Next time the cycle comes around the day before, just take it out of the freezer. It's all ready to go. You don't even have to prep it. All you have to do is open it and heat it up. So you go to day 7, sliced green and red peppers, onion, diced potatoes for beef tip grill. I don't think we served that yet, did we? Now that's coming up next. The thing that's nice about these better than foods is that the texture is pretty good on them. The flavor is good. They don't have to taste exactly like an item, but if they're good, like you like that spread, that was easy to do. I could slice that beef just like you would get at Arby's, which I do at home, nice and thin. Makes great sandwiches. You chop it up, you can make cream beef. The white sauce that I have is made from sunflower seeds. It's inexpensive to do. It's fast. It takes about 1 minute in a blender and 5 minutes in a microwave, and it's done. It's that simple. And the beef is already cooked. But if I want to make barbecue beef, anything that you folks like, you can. Whatever you would do with meat, you can do with these things. The test is, do you like it? Is it something you can live with? Now, you can season this different. If I was doing it for me, I'd probably put a little liquid smoke because I like that smoked beef once in a while, or smoked turkey or chicken. But again, it's just the principle. You do what you want. The other thing you want to do is what we call progressive cooking. When I ran dietetics for years, progressive cooking is this. I raised 5 children. My daughter that's back here still doesn't like onions. I have to trick her to get onions. Hopefully she ain't listening. I used to make a 15-bean soup, but she wouldn't eat it because it had onions in it. So all you have to do, if you make those type of things and you have leftovers, I drained the broth off, I threw it in a blender with a half a jar of salsa, and I made a nice bean dip. So Lindsay ate her onions cold. She ate cold bean soup. I like it hot. But you can do those things with leftovers or lentils. You can drain that stuff. You can make dips out of it. You see how simple it is? It's just a matter of getting out of the box. Leave Betty Crocker outside. So anytime that you come home, if the stuff is prepped, all you're doing is putting it together. It's that simple. Same thing with rice. What are some rice dishes you folks would like? Mexican rice. Fried rice. Spanish rice. That's one of my favorites. Yum, yum. Stir fries. Just rice itself. So if you come home and your rice is already cooked and all you have to do is heat it up or throw an ingredient in it, would that be hard to do? It's not hard to do. If you have to come home and cook the rice every time you want rice, it's hard to do. What you do with rice and pasta is when you cook it, you You rinse it off real good in cold water, let it drain good, put it in an airtight container. And even if your pasta sticks a little when you take it out, as soon as you put it in a colander, you throw that hot water in the tap, you hit that, it just breaks apart, it's nice and firm, it's good. So whether you're making homemade sauce or the only one in Dollar Tree, which is good, is their garlic and herb. That one doesn't have corn syrup in it. It's completely vegan. And for $1, you can get a nice big can of sauce. Now, if you want to make your sauces, go make your sauces. But it's very simple to do. But if I came home and I opened a can of that sauce because that's what I wanted tonight, and my pasta was cooked, all I have to do is throw it on the pasta, put it 3 minutes in the microwave, and I'm sitting down eating a rigatoni dinner. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Does it make sense? If I'm not clear, just let me know. It's very simple if things are prepped. If they're not prepped, those things aren't going to happen. Right. Uncovered. You drain them, let them come down to room temperature, throw them in the refrigerator, and they don't get slimy and stuff. Toward the end of the week, they might be a little drier, but that's when you make scalloped potatoes and stuff. Rehydrate them. Doesn't matter. Progressive cooking. This is a key thing, too, for families. Because this day and age, how many here people don't want to eat something they don't like? I don't. Do you? So if we're making pizza buns, and let's say that you have a family of 4 and you have somebody like Lindsay that didn't like onions. So what do I do when I'm prepping? I keep the onions separate, right? I prep everything else that's there that's going to have it. I take out her portion, throw the onions in. That's progressive cooking. That's what we do in a hospital. You start with a basic. If somebody's on a sodium-free diet, bland diet, if we're making a spaghetti sauce, we make it. We don't add salt to it. We can add seasoning. You can add, it's not a seasoning-free, it's salt-free. And so you can add oregano and Italian spices or whatever you want to it. Then you take it out. Then we add the salt and the other ingredients that regular diets. That's progressive cooking. So the same principle runs at home. If you got a person that's diabetic or you got somebody that's on a low sodium diet, you do the same thing. You start with the basic, you take their portion out, add all the rest stuff, and you all can sit down and eat dinner at the same time and have the same food. It's really simple. It's not hard. Does that make sense? It's just progressive cooking. But if you don't do the prep, you're going to be in trouble. It doesn't make these things work. I'll come back to that again. Let's go through the real quick. I'm not going to go through all the recipes. They're self-explanatory as long as you can read. And again, recipes are never an absolute. They're a guide. You tweak them the way you want. I tweaked some of this food tonight because I wanted to. But you can do the same thing. A vegetable soup can do anything. If you want beets, just throw what you like in it. Think of progressive cooking, though. If you got somebody in the family that doesn't like a particular thing, just leave that out, make everything else up, and then put your stuff back in. So the recipes will speak for themselves. This first spice chart that you have here, this is what I call a quick reference for the main types of foods that most people eat in this country. Mexican, Italian, soups, and Eastern dishes. These are the main spices, the flavors that you taste most of the time. So if you're eating Mexican, like when you had chili, that's chili powder and cumin. That cumin is what gives that taco flavor. So if you learn spices, you can make anything taste like anything. When I was demoing that Sloppy Joe tonight, I was going to do the Sloppy Joe and chili because of time and all that stuff. I decided I'd just do the one. But I could literally take that big bowl of that sauce. I can put the same ingredients that both are going to have, granulated garlic, onion, whatever. Then I can divide it in half. I can take half that sauce and put it in a bowl. I can put my chili seasoning, my chili powder and stuff in that half, and I can put my Sloppy Joe stuff in the other half, or if I'm making a spaghetti sauce. So I can make 2 different dishes at the same time, have them ready. I could come home tomorrow and I got my spaghetti sauce all ready if I'm not buying canned stuff. It really does not have to be hard. You know, I know a lot of celebrity chefs make things hard and they use fancy names. I didn't like that. That's why I got out of that business. I'm not a celebrity chef. I like to just try to educate people and say, you can do it. You can take charge of your health, and you can. But they use fancy names. When I cooked in Schraff's in New York, You know, we had on the menu baked trout, baked brook trout, maitre d' hotel. So you put a fancy name, you got a big price on it. Well, what's maitre d' hotel? Lemon juice and butter. And they throw sliced almonds on top. But it sounds pretty good, and it's worth an extra $2 on the menu. Because I ate maitre d' hotel. I shouldn't make fun of them, but a lot of that stuff is like that. You know, if it sounds good and it sounds complicated, this is simple. You make anything, you always start with the base and you use progressive cooking. So there's 3 main sauces you're going to use in cooking. There's exceptions when people are making special foods, but 3 main sauces, red, white, and brown, right? I'm going to show you. I know you know the answers. You know all this stuff I'm telling you. It's just a different way of putting it together. Red sauce. If I want to make a spaghetti or a chili, what would I use? Red, brown, or white? If I wanted to make a macaroni creole, if you know what that is, or a Spanish rice, what, red, white, or brown? If I wanted to make a cream soup, red, white, or brown? If I wanted to make macaroni and cheese. All right, you see what I'm saying? So what's the difference? Seasoning, period, seasoning. Alfredo sauce versus a ranch dressing versus this. It's seasoning. That's why the spice charts are here. These are your main spices. I put a second spice chart in there. That one's for education. It takes time to learn. This one is what spices do. This shows you the main spices in the culinary world. So like if you look at allspice, berries ground, similar to cloves and cinnamon combo, more complex. It's used in cakes, cookies, relishes, tomato sauce, stew. So you'll go through that whole list. It'll show you all types of spices, what they do. So if you want to experiment with different flavors, go for it. So that's what that's for. That's where you have to teach yourself that. The next page has a lot of menu alternatives. So if you don't like what's on this menu, the thing you have to do if you take one thing out is you're going to have to go to your prep chart and change the prep because it'll be a different prep. And the grocery list is in the package. How many people here have ever been in that dilemma every day going, what are we going to have for supper tonight? Or I'm going to go grocery shopping, so what do I need to buy? Well, if you have a planned menu, whether you change this menu or try this menu at first or tweak it, whatever, there's a grocery list in there. The only thing you have to do is put the amount. So if you've got a family of 5, you have to decide how many potatoes you think you're going to eat this week, etc. How much. So that's the only part you have to do is how much. When you go grocery shopping, you got your whole grocery list there for you. And if you feel real ambitious one day, you might make 2 or 3 things up and freeze them so that next time the cycle comes around, just take it out of the freezer the day before, come home, heat it, eat it. It's no big deal. So this just gives you some ideas of what you can do. Where to buy, that's self-explanatory. Veganese and all these type of things. In the future, some call it New Start, Start Anew. These are the 8 natural laws of health. So we have classes in the future if you're interested. Again, if you're on the recipe club, you'll get all this information sent to you. And they'll always be free. I just made a deal a long time ago with that. When I first came in to the health message, the classes, most classes were $40 to $60. I was raising 5 kids at the time. My wife and I both couldn't go. We didn't have that kind of money. Then it's buy the book or the Benton sisters or this or that. And so as a chef, I got thinking about the health message and decided how could I put the best of the world and best of this other together, and that's how this thing came up. It doesn't have to be hard. You know, there's special recipes if you want to do certain things. That's fine. But in general, these are common foods people eat. People like pizza. When you eat these beef tips, I think you'll like them. And anything you would do with beef tips in the meat world, you can do with here. If you want to make a stroganoff, if you want to make barbecued beef tips, you want to make a beef noodle soup, you want to make with these things, you want to make a chicken noodle soup. You can everything you do there. All you're doing is learning there's substitutes. Instead of using the meats, you have recipes. That's why we hope when you eat these that you at least like most of the stuff you ate and you say, yeah, I could live with that. If you could live with that, the only challenge you have now is a lifestyle change, and if you partner up with somebody, it makes it easier. But I will tell you, several foods are literally addictive out there. So when you try to quit certain things, sometimes you might feel a little cranky. You'll see a little bit of that in a bit. Anyway, sugar, we'll talk about that well, let me talk about it now before the video. How much sugar do you think the average American eats? Be honest now. I'm not hearing a lot. What? 50 pounds. Going once, going twice. Anybody else? 80 pounds. Getting closer. And you don't believe this. The average American right now eats 153 pounds of sugar a year. Okay? This is a 4-pound bag. That means you consume 39 of these a year. And here's the catch. You're only aware of 28% of it that you're eating. That's the catch. The other 72% is hidden in foods. And under all types of names. It's your body, it's your life. We're going to see a little thing of what sugar does to the body and stuff. And so we have to make choices. But it's your health, and hopefully you want to do that. Milk does the body harm. We're going to see some stuff on that and some videos to watch. So I want to come back one more time to the menu. Again, you got 15 bean soup on day 5. But all the ones with double stars on there, these are all whole food plant-based. So if you're on that type of diet, you still got 16. So that's 2 weeks worth of menu. And I have a 30-day one for those who are interested. They can have that when they leave. So you're going to come home, and the next day is Spanish rice. You're going to look at your prep chart. It's going to tell you what things to prep. Your chili dogs, you come home and have chili dogs. Do you all have the chili dogs yet? Okay, that's coming out. Let me see where they're at. Did you eat the chili dogs yet? Okay. That chili was quick made. I usually use canned. I try to do stuff that you folks can buy in the store, but that Boca Burger, that was a 3-minute chili, literally. I mean, it took 3 minutes to make that chili up, and heat. It took longer to heat it than it did to make it. It's the same thing like you've seen with the sloppy joes. You just got the sauce, you throw it in. The hot dogs are those smart dogs. Again, they're a better than food. But you know, for me, when I became a vegetarian, and they teach you in chef school the first week, smell. How many people smell things when they came in tonight? You know, it has to smell good. Then it's presentation when people bring it out. Now here it's a little different because we're slopping everything together on a plate so you can do things. But it has to have a nice appearance. Then the taste has to be there. Now those hot dogs are better than food because they don't have all these weird colorings in them. You can take that hot dog and grill it, and they have other ones, Smart Dogs, and Ives makes them. They're all in Sherm's in that section. So you can do what you want, whatever you would do with a regular hot dog, if you can live with what you ate. Normally that chili dog, like on the menu, is to put it on a hot dog bun and throw a chili over it, but we just want you to taste it, so that's why we do this stuff here. And again, we do things as inexpensive as we can so that we can keep doing these classes, so that doesn't bother me. Yes? No, nothing you eat, everything you're eating tonight is vegan. 100%, nothing in there had a mother. That's the easiest way to put it. If it had a mother, we don't eat it. If it had eyes and breathed, we don't eat it. Okay? You know, but the deception, it's just like cheese. You know, cheese used to be 100% made with beef rennet. You know, rennet is when they take the stomach out and they take all the stuff inside the calves. They have to do it with calf stomachs. And that's what makes this stuff thicken up and stuff. But today, a lot of it's done with pork rennet because pork is cheaper. So people don't know it. So if people are into a clean and unclean diet with some religions, they're not even aware of that. So when they're eating cheese, they're eating a pork product. It's Russian roulette. You don't know what's in there. It's just a fact. I don't make these things up. Tons of deception. We'll come back. This one here, I'm going to preface. These are real. This started in England. And this was done a few years ago, and they'll say that they stopped it over there, but they haven't stopped it here. It's actually expanded. And so it's pretty self-explanatory when you watch it. So we'll go into this.
The industry-wide secret butchers don't want you to know about. Major suppliers have been caught using a special product known as meat glue to stick together scraps of meat to sell as prime cuts. But while this product has been banned overseas, there's no law prohibiting its use here. Here's Rodney Lowe's with this special investigation.
It's the meat industry's dirty secret, a way of turning the scraps too small to sell as a premium steak back into a juicy plump eye fillet to sell for a premium price. So clever, you'll never tell. Not even an expert can.
Before you didn't even pick that as a join though, did you?
It doesn't even tear through the joint. Bit hard to tell, isn't it?
Butcher James Faulkner runs Queensland Natural Beef Company, an organisation dedicated to using as few additives in meat from paddock to plate as possible. But tonight, he's exposing how some parts of the industry are able to trick their customers and use whatever it takes.
Yeah, I've just got some fine diced beef and my special enzyme. I'm just going to mix it up a bit.
Why have we got the masks on?
This is dangerous. See that? Don't breathe that in.
This powder is transglutaminase enzyme, otherwise known as meat glue. Meat glues come in a number of forms, some produced by cultivating bacteria, the others, the primary ingredient comes from the blood plasma of pigs and cattle, specifically the coagulant which causes blood to clot. In the food industry, it has amazing properties.
So just got a little bit here, about a teaspoonful.
Yep.
Just over the top like that. And with our gloves on, of course, we mix it up.
Then roll it in plastic film and refrigerate. 6 hours later, you have a solid piece of meat.
And essentially, you've got a reborn, rebirthed eye fillet. More or less, yeah.
Ours uncooked is easy to spot the difference, but cooked is another story.
Okay, so the meat glue one is on the right, and the real McCoy is on the left.
And it's not just beef. Pork, lamb, fish and chicken are all stuck back together using this glue.
It looks like one piece of chicken. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yep.
But hard to tell, isn't it?
Particularly that. On the grill, it's even harder to pick.
So that's the real McCoy. There's a burl. Nice and tender, nicely salted. All right, let's go for the meat glue. I can't tell the difference.
Pretty good, but potentially dangerous.
I've sort of got two concerns. One that is well publicised, which is misleading people. The other area is the microbial side.
It's why the European Union moved to ban meat glue in May last year. Microbiologist Glenn Pinner.
If this food is sold or represented as a solid piece of steak and you cook it rare, you're really leaving yourself open to get food poisoning.
Once you glue two pieces together, it's difficult to cook thoroughly those parts that were on the outside but are now on the inside.
The amount of bacteria on a steak that has been put together with meat glue is hundreds of times higher.
We had no idea how guarded a secret this was until we started contacting restaurateurs and butchers to ask them about the use of meat glue. Many of them didn't want to speak for fear of upsetting their suppliers, creating bad blood in an industry that has become very clever at using this product.
Are you just shaking your head? A little bit. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
This cube roll we bought from a wholesaler that produces stuck-together steaks en masse. Their efforts so good, James, our butcher, couldn't tell even when it was raw. It's even harder in the restaurant, which are some of the biggest users of glued meat. And chances are, unless you're a vegetarian, you're eating it on a regular basis. But with current labelling laws, neither butchers nor your local eatery have to tell you you're eating chicken glued together with cow's blood or beef held together by pig. It's the same reason they can take low-grade meat and pump it with water and flavour to make it edible. Okay, so just after about a minute or two, we've got quite a lot of moisture out of there. And we've lost almost half a kilo. Then the practice of selling mutton as lamb and old cow as prime cut beef. Like this. So old, a meat grader said it was only good for pet mince.
You've got yellow fat colour, really dark meat colour. It's definitely off a really old type of animal.
In New South Wales, new labelling regulations have just been introduced to help consumers choose quality meat, but it's not compulsory. So for most of us, picking a quality piece of meat is still a shot in the dark.
It's kind of amazing. The thing is, people are sick this day. People think they're doing healthy things. They go out there, or you get this, or you get that. And there's other problems. Even if you got the purest, if you were raising your own and doing all that stuff there's still things in there that are just natural. The acid content, there's just a lot of things that are different. But it's, again, to make you aware of stuff so that you're out there. And the thing is, using pig's blood and stuff to do things like that. I know when I was the chef at La Comedia Dinner Theater, I was ordering stuff, and they have what they call halfway houses, and I was supposed to be buying fresh, and I knew what I was buying. That's what I was trained for. I got some stuff that was frozen in the center, and so I questioned them. What I found out after we investigated and got them closed up was that I was in the Dayton, Ohio area, and this was Cincinnati, about 45 minutes. And when we'd make the order, because we paid a higher price for better quality meat, he had a halfway house that he switched stuff with. They went and had another meat company that they worked with, and so they would put different grades of meat or stuff that they had for a while that was frozen, that he'd call ahead and have it thawed out. It's supposed to be thawed out, and he was delivering it to me, so then they were getting higher prices for lower quality meat. So that was back in 1979, 1980, somewhere in there. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And again, it's to make you aware. It doesn't mean that everybody's doing that, everything is bad. The thing is, you don't know who is and who isn't. And we see all these sicknesses now that people are having, and young people being sick, and we're wondering why. This next one here, this will show you what they do with that yellow meat to prevent it.
Consumer news tonight: when it comes to meat, the USDA seal is required to prove that the meat has been inspected by a federal agency.
But what many consumers may not know is that some meat has actually been treated with carbon monoxide gas in order to keep it looking fresh for weeks. Kitty Pilgrim has more.
Red, fresh meat, or is it? Congressional hearings pointed to the pitfalls of treating meat with carbon monoxide.
Treating meat with carbon monoxide allows the meat to keep its freshly ground red color, even though the meat may have spoiled. I have a picture on the screen. There's 2 packages of ground meat that were left out at room temperature for 27 hours. You can see the one which was treated with carbon monoxide looks fresh and red, while the other meat has turned brown and quite nasty looking.
Congressman Stupak and Congressman Ed Markey have introduced legislation that would require meat treated with carbon monoxide to be labeled so the consumer would know. According to the industry, 2/3 of all meat and chicken is no longer cut by a butcher in front of customers or in back of the supermarket case. Now, pre-packaged, case-ready meat is prepared off-site at large distributors and then shipped to supermarkets. The carbon monoxide treatment keeps meat looking fresh in that process. Food experts say a pound of ground beef cut by a butcher goes brown in 4 to 5 days. But meat treated with carbon monoxide by a meat packer can stay looking fresh for weeks. It's the same with imported seafood. Congressman Stupak says his subcommittee tested seafood from China and Vietnam treated with carbon monoxide. 20% turned out to be bad and was refused.
It's a problem because consumers aren't informed about how meat is treated. The meat is being treated with chemicals so that it's going to look like it's fresher than it is. I think consumers have a right to know how fresh their meat is.
Industry representatives of large meat packers say the additive is harmless, and it's easy to tell when the product goes bad. Kitty Pilgrim, CNN.
Think we should have a right to know what we're eating? USDA has some crazy rules and stuff. Now you have some macaroni and cheese and beef tips coming out. Hopefully you'll enjoy these. Again, I wish we could do everything just piping hot right out of the thing, but to do this, this is the way we have to do it. But it works. 5 reasons pork is bad for you. A lot of reasons. You'll get to see some of these. So I'll show you this while they're passing out and you're eating. Again, it's just knowledge.
Pork is considered as the most widely eaten meat in the world. It contributes up to 38% of total meat production worldwide. It is popular in East and Southeast Asia, Europe, Africa, North and South America. No matter how widely they are consumed, we should not ignore the fact pigs are the most filthy and dirty animal on the earth. They are considered as the garbage and waste eliminators of farms. Let's see 5 interesting facts about pigs, which proves that they are unhealthy for consumption. So, starting with number 5, pigs are filled with toxins. The main factor which fills pig with tons of toxins is its digestive system. Pigs digest whatever they eat very quickly in up to about 4 hours, while for a cow, it takes about 24 hours to digest what they eat. Usually, it's during the digestive process, animals get rid of excess toxins and other unwanted components from the body, and these are excreted since they are harmful to health. But, in a pig's digestive system, many of these toxins remain in their body itself and are stored in the form of fatty tissues, ready for our consumption. If we notice closely, larger part of a pig's meat are these fats accumulated with toxins. Number 4. Carrier of filthy worms. Pigs are the carriers of various parasitic worms, such as roundworms, pinworms, hookworms, and the worst thing is, a week after eating such infected pork, the adult female worms, now inside your body, produce larvae. They enter your bloodstream and eventually tunnels into the muscles, causing deadly diseases. Number 3. Pigs don't sweat. The purpose of sweating is to eliminate unwanted toxins from the body. But interestingly, pigs have very few functional sweat glands and can barely sweat. This will leave more toxins accumulated in the pig's body. So, when you consume pork meat, these toxins will be transferred to your body, which lead to having excess toxin inside your body, eventually causing diseases. Number 2. Pork is a disease carrier. According to the World Health Organization, processed pork meat like ham, bacon, and sausage can cause cancer. Pork is known to carry diseases like trichinosis. Apart from that, they also carry harmful viruses like hepatitis C virus, Nipah virus, and meningovirus. Each of the mentioned parasites and viruses can lead to serious health problems that can last for years. In a research made on 200 pigs, 75% of pigs had a microorganism called Yersinia, which is the main cause of fever, sickness, vomiting, diarrhea, and cramps. And finally, number 1, pigs feed on dirt and filth. Pigs are scavengers, and they literally eat anything they can find. These include bugs, insects, and whatever leftover scraps or wastes they find laying around. And they even eat their own feces, urine, as well as the dead remains of sick animals, including their own young. And in most big farms, they are treated very miserably, that they live, sleep, and grow in such a dirty situation. If we ever see those scenes, we never eat them again. Now that you have
I'll keep cruising through these so we can get you out of here on time. This is
the
important.
biggest killers in today's world are heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes. And sugar feeds these diseases like wildfire. I took one of my clients, Ryan, to meet my doctor to show us the effects of sugar on the human body. We were shocked by what we discovered.
Hey, doctor, how are you? Good, Ryan. Glad to see you. Great seeing you. Thanks for having us in. Hi, Jorge. And tell me how many pounds you've lost now.
I've lost 47 pounds.
And how much sugar you've been consuming about?
15 grams of sugar or less per day.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we first drew Ryan's blood in a healthy state, and then we looked at it under a very powerful microscope.
This is what you want healthy blood to look like. All of the cells are individualized. There's no clumping. You're developing energy. The red blood cells are bringing the oxygen. If they're clumped together, they can't bring the oxygen to your tissue beds. Right. So that's important. That is about as healthy a picture of blood as I can ever see. Okay, so this is someone who's really cut down on their level of sugar intake. Whatever you understand, that's right. All right, you guys ready to go eat? All right. Come on. This is where the kitchen's at.
So now it was time to eat. So we started to look at some options. And what Ryan ended up eating was just some simple stuff that most Americans would eat on any typical morning. Things you would find in your house and things that parents would be happy to give to their kids. Nothing too crazy, really. Just everyday food. It didn't really look like Ryan overloaded on sugar, but in that course of that small 10 minutes, he had almost 200 grams of sugar.
Nice snack. Let's see what happens to the blood. All right, well, I'm excited to see this, Ryan. What do you think? What's going through your mind right now? Well, how are you feeling? What do you think your blood's feeling?
Well, let's see. I don't know, I guess it feels a little tingly up here because it's, sugar at levels that I'm not used to doing anymore.
Ryan, after ingesting 200 grams of sugar, within about 15 to 20 minutes, we take a second sample of your blood. And what we see is rouleau, that's a French word meaning stack of coins, where you've lost the ability to have your energy manufactured in the body. You can no longer bring the energy to your cellular beds. You also have something called spicules. These are platelets which have mutated from their normal disc shape to needle-like projections, giving appearances of cracked glass. There are heavy proteins in the blood, and it slows the liver down due to much fat that develops in the blood.
So when we have this stacking of, I don't you think they look like caterpillars?
Look at caterpillars, and the sugar actually does convert in the liver to fat.
Yes, right.
That's what's happening.
So it's like gluing it together.
Gluing it together. Arrogans are ingested as tremendous amounts of high fructose corn syrup, along with all of these synthetic chemicals like sucralose, which is Splenda, aspartame. These are toxic chemicals, and their cells are being held together by duct tape. And they don't know it. They don't know it. And when this reveals a very powerful image of what happens to you, this is very powerful.
What do you think about this, Ryan? When you see this, I mean, what do you see when you look at yourself like a caterpillar?
Well, to look at it as before and then now this, I'm just in shock. And before I started cutting out the sugar, I would imagine my blood looked like that constantly.
Sugar is the number one cause of cirrhosis of the liver now in this country. Because of time, I won't do it, but I had a bowl with the sugar. If you take a 12-ounce can of soda pop, how many teaspoons of sugar are in that? Yeah, almost 10, 9 3/4, just in a 12-ounce can. That's just one. So if I put a glass here and put 10 teaspoons of sugar and add the water to it, you wouldn't want to drink it. But if I carbonate it, put some flavor in it, we down it all day long. Anything that makes your blood cells stick together is going to cause health problems. It's that simple. Anything that interferes with circulation, it starts breaking down the immune system. The trouble again, health doesn't happen overnight. When did someone become an alcoholic? When did someone get addicted to cigarettes? They smoke one cigarette and get addicted. And people are different. The knowledge is power, and education is knowledge. And so you're getting education. When you see these things, it's so deceptive. And we're taught these things are okay. They're not okay. I'm going to make a coleslaw real quick. Again, the prep was done. I like it when it's fine. I don't like the stringy type. Everybody has their own, and I don't like it like soup. This is my own thing. I call it a dilly silly slaw. I like dill. If you don't like dill, don't eat it. If you like dill, you'll love it. It's very simple. Onion, carrots, Veganese, which is a vegan mayonnaise. And a lot of people don't like to peel carrots, but I'll show you an easy way. If you have a chef's knife and you don't waste it, it goes pretty fast. This is all you have to do. Just take the wide part of that blade, you scrape it like so, flop her over, do the other side. There's hardly any waste at all. You get all the outside. This was washed. Let me see. This here, that was all the skin. So you got pretty much the whole carrot. So that helps you save a little money there too. I'll throw my onions in there. Recipes in there, and if you want to know when I use hands, you show me the size of your hand, I'll tell you how much you need. Whatever, I'll have them shred the carrot back there. We throw the onions in. We're going to throw some mayonnaise in there. I got to go get the dill. Nobody's listening, so they'd be bringing it out. This is Veganese. Just makes one, but you'd have to order it online through Walmart. It's the same product, same ingredients, but it's half the price. But you have to order it, and then you go pick it up. It's called Just, J-U-S-T. So all this is, it's real simple. I put a touch of mustard in there, puts a little bite, brings out some of the other flavors. Let me grab the dill. Where's my dill? There's some up there if I need it. We misplaced our dill. Be right with you. I have to steal some from the place here. There you go. All right. I lied. Now this is going to look like a lot of dill, but it's not as much as you think. Okay? All right? When you mix things, it's always nice if you're using seasonings. Like normally I would mix the carrots and onions in there. Then you put the wet stuff on top, put your seasoning, and then mix that together so that we would just blend it all in here so you get an even flavor through. It makes it easier. And then we just mix the stuff all together. Again, if somebody likes it soupy at home, make your drier stuff first and then just add a little extra mayonnaise. I just kind of like it that way. All right. All right. I'll take that back so they can dish it up. I didn't have a grater out there. You got to put a little of this in there. Not just for color. All right, we're almost done. Sorry about that. I'm just going to go to this 1-minute video here so we can go on there while they're dishing the last stuff up for you, and then we'll have some dessert and get you out of here. This is pretty self-explanatory.
It is not natural for humans to drink cow's milk. Cow's milk is a high-fat fluid designed to turn a 65-pound baby calf into a 400-pound cow. Cow's milk contains animal protein, which has been proven by people like Dr. T. Colin Campbell to promote cancer growth. Animal protein is far too acidic for the human body. In order to neutralize this acidity, the body leaches calcium and phosphorus from the bones. People have been misled to believe that milk gives us strong bones, yet the countries with the highest dairy consumptions all have the highest rates of osteoporosis. Dairy products like cheese and butter are high in fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol, and are very low in vital vitamins and minerals. Diets high in fat, especially saturated fat, can increase the risk of heart disease and can cause other serious health problems like diabetes. Because cows suffer from a number of infections like mastitis, dairy contains considerable quantities of pus. A glass of milk will contain around 90 to 135 million somatic pus cells. Dairy also contains bovine growth hormones, which have been linked to obesity and cancer. It also contains antibiotics and contaminants like blood and feces. Cow's milk also contains casomorphins, a form of morphine which is highly addictive. Fortunately, there are many non-dairy alternatives, and a whole foods plant-based diet can provide all the essential nutrients for long-term health.
Skip a couple. Watch this while you're sitting.
Whether it's coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, cardiac arrest, or congestive heart failure, doctors say for many patients, all forms of heart disease can be prevented.
We do about 1,100 open heart surgical procedures here annually, we're seeing them every day.
Cardiothoracic surgeon Dr. Brian Hummel says nearly 600 of those procedures performed every year at Lee Health are coronary bypass surgeries.
Of those patients, a significant percentage could have been perhaps avoided or delayed a significant amount of time had they done something lifestyle-wise.
That means adding at least 20 minutes of physical activity to your daily routine and taking out foods that are high in sodium, fat, and sugar.
Eating right can certainly help avoid cardiac problems or cardiac disease down the road.
Keeping up with your annual doctor's appointments and monitoring your weight and lab work can also help patients address any changes to their heart health.
Watch your cholesterol and triglycerides, the fatty foods, so that the red meats, that sort of thing. There is a lot of evidence that a plant-based diet really does lower your cholesterol and lowers the risk of heart disease.
And the number one thing doctors recommend to prevent heart disease is to stop smoking.
Still, people continue to smoke, and it is the number one problem in terms of people developing heart disease.
Lee Health was recently chosen as one of the top 50 cardiovascular programs in the nation. Doctors say improving your lifestyle can benefit your heart health and keep you here instead of here. For Lee Health, I'm Lindsay Morton.
All right, what we're passing around, I meant to do it earlier and I got spaced out. That big rubbery thing, Ramona should know what it is. She's a retired dietitian. For every 5 pounds you're overweight, you have one of those in your body. And you have to get about another mile of capillaries. That's why it builds up blood pressure. So as you hold that little thing, if you're 10 pounds overweight, you got 2 of those in your body. And you can see what it does. Yeah, the little jar, if you're wondering why people have bypass surgery, that is fat. did that maybe 10, 12 years ago. That's your bacon grease and stuff that's left from the meat we put in that jar and sealed. It doesn't melt at room temperature, obviously. So when you're eating these things, when you hear about plaque and buildup and all these kind of things, that's what's going in your body. That's why it's hardening, and that's why you start having problems afterwards. So that's what your fat looks like. So when you see them little videos where they're pulling, it looks like a pipe cleaner out of an artery. That's because that stuff, if you go to a whole food plant-based diet, the good news is you can melt that stuff away and don't have to have triple bypass surgery. But that's what happens when we used to use this in dietetics to teach our patients. For every 5 pounds you're overweight, because 5 pounds don't sound like a big deal, but when you kind of hold it in your hands, it looks a little different, and that's 5 pounds of fat. I want to show this little thing, and then I'm going to have a drawing. I have 8 things I would like to pass out tonight for a drawing, so hopefully you all got your tickets. But I want you to watch this little trailer, if you would, called Eating You Alive.
People aren't living longer, they're dying longer.
I'm a steak guy.
Fish.
Sushi, actually.
Got up as heavy as 518 pounds.
6 months you'll be in dialysis or you'll be dead.
I can't have that one candy bar a week because I didn't have an off switch.
You're going to be on insulin the rest of your life. I wasn't making any progress on the pills.
We see this kind of cancer, there's no known cure.
I was flat out of gurney, and they were debating, do I have triple bypass?
I thought that my hypertension was genetic.
You're out of control, and they were not giving me any hope at all.
We had the cure. We've had it for decades.
What we know from cigarette smoking is the public doesn't like to be lied to.
We need education more than medication.
Can't blame doctors. They're not trained in this field.
I was really angry. I just could not understand why I didn't learn any of this in medical school.
The food industry is $1 trillion industry. It uses very similar kind of tobacco-style techniques, paying off scientists and funding studies.
What is on our plate is really affecting our environment.
We have been putting the wrong fuel in our body.
Americans, Europeans are being poisoned by these animal foods.
You can see what the person is eating by looking at the plaque in their arteries.
There's a plaque right there.
We were literally bypassing the problem.
Without some serious lifestyle changes, this guy will be back.
Foods are the cause of diabetes, of heart disease, of many forms of cancer, of hypertension. And if they're the cause, they can also be the solution.
I had to really look at it to see patients that I knew should be dead by my conventional training, alive and well, tumors melting away.
The power is not inside our hands as physicians. The power is inside your hands through your life choices.
Don't let your culture hold your heart hostage.
Many symptoms and diseases just melt away even after being there for years.
The doctor said this woman alleges to have lupus, but we're not finding any evidence of it.
Doctor says you're no longer diabetic.
The most important decision anyone makes every day is what they elect to put in their mouths.
I need to make a change, but what do I do?
In the nutrition classes that I teach, a big component of that is taking people to the grocery store and doing hands-on training and teach people label reading.
I think it is something that will really work. It's just my habits.
Probably 95% of America has no idea how to eat.
It's not so much about trying to invent a new way of life, but rather discovering the foods that are right here in front of you.
I think that's the gift of the plant-based diet, is it really kind of taps into all your different creative parts and you just start really experiencing a new variety.
This is my garlic Alfredo. It's just 7 ingredients. Just start out with chopping some onions, chopping some garlic.
We're on the cusp of a paradigm shift. To me, this is the future of food.
I can't imagine another way that we could have a greater impact on our health.
Standing in front of you is obviously not a hindrance in bodybuilding to eat whole plant foods.
To be able to push through 90 minutes and not get stopped by muscle cramps was an amazing feeling.
Food is powerful.
I've been in medicine for over 30 years, and for the very first time, I can truly look someone in the eye and I can say, I can heal you.
Why isn't every person trying this?
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life, it saved my marriage.
It's really nice to do things when you get results. Here I was in control all along. Gave me freedom.
This is where medicine should be.
Come on.
What's on your plate?
Real quick, again, just to show you the principle of this. You come home at night again on your menu, it says stuffed peppers for the night. So you come home and you're looking forward to it, but one of your kids or your spouse isn't, they're going, I'm not in the mood for a stuffed pepper. This is where seasoning comes in. They want Mexican. So all I have to do is take that stuffed pepper that I had, I'm going to put it in here like so, add a little cumin, Mexican seasoning that you have on there, put a little salsa on there if you want it. We roll it up, and in that fast, we went from a stuffed pepper to a nice giant burrito. Pretty simple, isn't it? See how simple that stuff is? You can change things in a minute. It's a principle. Don't think in the box all the time. Now, I have one little, I was talking to this lady, Pat, the other day, and she went through the tip class, and she told me what happened. She went on a vegan diet 6 months ago, and so I asked her if she would just briefly tell you what changes happened in her life. Because we see all this stuff, so it's really nice to have a live testimony. So I'll give that, and then I'm going to have the drawing. And you got a testimony too? Okay, well, let's get Pat here. And if y'all have to leave, I understand. But I got some nice prizes for you.
I decided I needed to make a change in my diet, so I did go on the vegan diet, and I felt much better. I had varicose veins, very, very dark feet, looked like they were black. And now I have normal-looking feet. The legs, and they're not black anymore, they're white, and I feel much better, even body-wise. My doctor even told me, this is the best I've ever seen. Continue to do what you are doing.
Amen.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you all the different numbers, but when I first started TIP about 8 months ago, I had high cholesterol, I had kidney disease, my kidneys were only functioning at 29%, so I was looking at going on dialysis. I had coronary artery disease and I had peripheral artery disease. And I can tell you, as of 3-4 weeks ago when we had our blood tests, I'm cured of all of it.
Amen. Yeah. And if she keeps, and if you keep going, it gets better. But I'll tell you folks one thing, what you want to do, even if you're going to continue the standard American diet, you know, it's interesting that the French eat more fat than the average American, and they have less heart attacks. And you know why that reason is? And I learned this I lived in Europe a couple of years, and then I had some French friends that came over, and the French, in general, eat their salad last. We're taught to eat it first. But if you eat that high fiber and all that stuff after you eat all that other stuff, it helps push it out. So here's a simple marker without going to the science. If you eat 3 meals a day, you should be having 3 good bowel movements a day, and they should not be hard to have. And that's within a 24-hour period. Ideally, for 2 of those meals, you'll usually have it within 4 to 5 hours after. So if you eat 3 meals and you're only having 2 bowel movements or 1 bowel movement a day, that means you're lacking in fiber drastically, and you need to get rid of that stuff. The average meat goes into our system. Parts of that can take up to 3 or 4 days to digest. So imagine what this is with disease. I'm showing you how the body works. If you're in your mind's eye, we put a pound of hamburger in a kitchen, and we sealed it off, and we turned that kitchen up to 100 degrees for 3 days, and then we went in there and we took that hamburger out. How many people would want to eat it? You know what? Yeah, what's our body temperature? Almost 100 degrees, right? And inside even warmer. So if that meat is taking 3 days to digest in part, or 2 days, what happens is all that toxins and stuff, it reabsorbs through the intestinal wall, goes into the bloodstream, your body's got to filter it, your liver is working on it. You get the idea? And when we do this year after year, and we pump sugar in there, and we pump this in there, and we wonder why we're sick, That's why we're sick. So with that said and done, if you got questions, I'll hang around and talk as long as you want. We kind of skipped through a few things today. Yes? Pardon? That was our mock roast beef. The recipe's in your thing there. That's one that we've added. It's made from red beans and a beef-like seasoning that you can use your own seasoning, and some wheat gluten. The chicken one you eat is the same thing, except it's garbanzo beans. The red beans are cooked and clean and dried. The garbanzo beans are done raw. So when you eat the chicken one, if you've already had that tonight, that's what this is, garbanzo beans and some chicken-like seasoning and some gluten. And when you bake it off, that's what you have. This is the normal size. The recipe in there will give you this size. If you double it, it'll get this size or even a little bit bigger. The only thing that I recommend is because when you bake it, the bottom gets a little hard. You can just take a little bit of that bottom off. Then you can slice this, dice it, grind it, do whatever you'd want to do. If you want to make spread, you want to make cream beef, etc., etc. Pardon? Better than beef. The rest is better than right there. Yeah, it's in there, yeah. It should be on the last page. I think my wife added it and stuff. But get a recipe club if you would, and you can get off it any time you want. But how long? Well, my house it don't keep long. Not with a couple of kids there. No, if you kept it in the refrigerator, it will last weeks. Okay, but you can freeze it. You can make them up. And I recommend it. If you go through the trouble of making them, we make 4 at a time. You know, and we keep one out and we freeze 3. And you don't have to go through that. You see what I mean? It's fast. So if I came home tonight and I was hungry and didn't want what was on the menu, I sliced that thin. I have me a roast beef sandwich with horseradish, some tomato, onion, lettuce. I'm a happy man. You know, so that's what you can do with this stuff. With that said and done, I have a drawing. I got to find what I did with the bowl of numbers. Where's the tickets to draw from? Still on the table? All right. I need a dishonest person to come up here and draw these things, all right? I was hoping we were having little kids, because then you can't get too rough on them. Who wants it? You're going to be my volunteer? All right. Are you honest? Okay, and you don't know hardly anybody here, right? All right. Now, can we give you a lie detector test? All right, I'll let you hold the bowl. Let me get the first thing out here. Draw a number. Not that they're a big deal, but this first one is for a little set of knives to get you started at home if you don't have it. If you get something you don't want it, give it to your neighbor, okay? So if you don't get your number drawn, she becomes a dog, right? But if you get it, she's your hero. So we want her to be a hero tonight. So this goes to 410326. 326 is the last 3. All right. This is your equalizer. All righty. Yep. All right, let's put it in there. We still got 7 more to go. That's all right. Yep, somebody didn't put the half in there. This one is, let me mix them all up again. All right. That trailer you've seen, I've got 5 of those DVDs of Eating You Alive. It's very good. It's a fast-paced movie. The reason I like it, I have a lot of these different types, is that most of the testimony, the talks that you hear are doctors, which is rare when they're talking about nutrition, and all types of doctors, from psychiatrists to heart specialists, etc. then it has the testimonies and it has the science. So you get the complete package. And the eating you alive is a play of words, mean like this young lady just gave her testimony, is eating you back to health. And you can do that. You can take charge of your health. It's hard to believe some of this stuff, but this isn't even the tip of the iceberg of what's going on in the food industry. All right, so the first one for eating you alive. Lindsay, how about you pass these out when people raise their hands for me? First one goes to 355. 355, the last three. Crystal? The next one goes to 324, last three digits. Kip, over there. You guys like this lady? Huh? Come on now. Come on. Give her credit. 359, last three. Well, look at all these people. If you have that or you don't want it, feel free to pass it or give it back and we'll draw another number. Well, you got one more? Two more. 353. Last three digits. 353. Somebody gone to the bathroom? Ole in for 353. All right. No 353. Snooze, you lose. 344. Give it to Pat over there. We got one more? Or she's doing good, huh? I didn't hear no thank yous yet to this lady. 337. All right. You're all happy you won something, but you might say, well, I wanted this next gift. All right. Yes. This one is a $20 gift certificate to Cheese Chinese, which is, I don't know Roseburg yet. I'm not from here. Is that Stevens? Okay. It's down from that Ford dealer, just a little bit on the left. They have a lot of nice vegan things, and within a year she's hoping to have a whole menu that's vegan besides their regular. Right now she has 5 vegan items on her menu, but anything that's on that menu, they'll substitute tofu for the meat, etc., etc. And I would recommend the family-style tofu. Last three digits. 32. Nobody's excited? 1. 321. All right. And last but not least, people say, good things can come in small packages, right? All right. This is a $25 gift certificate for Pita Pit. And they'll make anything you want that's there. Now, should I read this number or should she draw another one? It's the last gift. See, yeah, I just testing you all out. Got to have some fun here. 345. 345. All right, well, thank you much. She did a good job. She's honest. She's honest. Excuse me. All right, well that kind of concludes the stuff. Did you give them the rice pudding? Did you guys have rice pudding yet? Did you like that? Brown rice, raisins, some coconut milk, cinnamon. It's pretty good. About what?
There was a question I put there. She wanted to know what about fish?
What about it? It breathes. Fish, if you're going to eat fish, I would highly recommend that you don't eat anything unless it comes from the North Atlantic. At this point in time, the Pacific is super polluted. There is a higher amount of radiation. There's a lot of mercury in the water. When you see things and they say if you're a pregnant woman, only eat tuna once a week because of the mercury, why would I want to eat it once a week and get a little bit of mercury in me? That's not good for my liver and stuff either. We can put that up. Now, when you leave, if you like to donate, that'd be fine to help the cost, but don't feel you have to. This ain't about money. We just put it on. But I want you to put all your index cards in there too when you leave, if you would, so we don't have to pick them all up. Remember, if you want to be on the recipe club, put an R on there and give me your email again that I can read. and we will send you out information from time to time. You can be taken off at any time you like, but the more the merrier. And if you have a nice recipe that's vegan, and what's vegan, you remember? And whole food, plant-based? Nothing that had a mother, okay? That's the easy. If it had a mother, it ain't vegan, all right? Jell-O, it's made from scrapings of pig's hides, so it's not vegan. You have to buy a kosher gel, which is made from beef. I'm serious. So thanks. What'd you do with the donation box? Yeah, okay. If you put the cards, and thanks for coming. If you got questions, hang around. Appreciate it.